Have you anytime wondered why the washing machines, microwave ovens, or even a small embedded devices have a tiny small screen display? That's called LCD. Have you ever wondered how the display is being driven? How it shows the messages, characters, numbers? Let's decode that in this video. Hello everyone, I'm Geeta. I work as a technical director for ARM tools at JSAS Microsystems Private Limited. So the agenda for this video first is what is LCD, where it is used, and why it is predominant and significant in an embedded system. And then we'll see how the LCD is driven by the MCU, and we'll see a simple connection between MCU and an LCD. So let's start into the video. So what is an LCD? As everyone know, LCD is liquid crystal display. It is the most commonly used output device to display the numbers, messages, and even sometimes graphics you can see. Why LCD is popular? Because it's of small, easy to use and low power consumption. Now where do you see the LCD? As I highlighted in the beginning, if you take any electronic products, machines, you can see like washing machine, microwave, you can take about calculator, you can see some of the measuring instruments, they do have a display. So display usually shows the menu items, messages, numbers. It can show characters, it can show the status of any command or something like washing machine. When you run, once it is done, it will show done, completed, okay, or whatever it is. So now we will see why LCD is significant and very much important in an embedded system. So I have already covered in one of my video. I have spoke about the basics of the embedded, where I did take the example of air conditioner, where I explained about the sensors. A basic embedded system I actually explained. So if you take the same scenario, microcontroller reads the data from the sensors, processes it, and it has to send the output. So there should be some way to tell to the user, to the world, what is the output of that process, a result what we tell. So microcontroller or an embedded system, we use an LCD. So LCD is a commonly used output device for displaying these messages or driving these messages, numbers, or whatever the thing you want to display on the LCD. Now we will see how microcontroller drives the LCD. So we learned that microcontroller is the one which sends the process data to the LCD. But what is that microcontroller sense? It's just the raw data. But how LCD converts that and displays it in the message? That part is taken care by the signals. So MCU and LCD are connected through the signal lines, basically. So MCU sends commands and data to the LCD. So the command will tell the LCD what is the operation the LCD has to do. Is it clearing the LCD, making the screen blank, white, or any color, setting the specific position on the cursor, and data will give the data that is to be driven on the LCD. So now that we know how MCU and LCD are connected, let's take a just simple basic LCD. We take a 16x2 character LCD. There we use few control lines, signals between the microcontroller and the LCD. So what are those control lines? So some of the control lines I would like to highlight here is, one is RS, RW, and E. What is RS? RS signal will decide whether microcontroller is sending command to the LCD or sending data to the LCD. RW, as the name suggests, read write, whether you are writing to the LCD or reading from the LCD. E stands for enable. So enable is basically to latch on the data what you want to display onto the LCD. So if I take an example of a sensor, if you have a temperature sensor in a room which senses the temperature as 32 degree, and how will the embedded intelligence which is in part of your room will let the user know what is the temperature of the room. So there is some display. Usually if you take an example of an AC also, when we control the temperature through the remote, you can see the temperature there. So it will just display the whatever is the current temperature of the room. So it will just read the data from the temperature sensor, processes it so that it can send in the way LCD can understand, and then the LCD will display that whatever message you want. Now, if you take a simple LCD on like how you want to drive some message or a string onto the LCD, suppose you want to display some hello or a temp. So first, microcontroller will send a command to initialize the LCD. Suppose if I take an example of TEMP, it sends the characters TEMP one by one data as it to the LCD. So now we have seen how the MCU and LCD are interfaced. So what are the common ways how they interface is either they use the 8-bit control lines or 8-bit signals or 4-bit signals. 8-bit signals means, as the name suggests, microcontroller can directly drive 8-bit or 1 byte data onto the LCD. But usually the current popular version is 4-bit, where they try to send the same byte in 2 bytes. When the 8-bit data will be sent in process of 2 bytes, which one is first 4 bits and next 4 bits, because this is widely used less processor pins which will be used by the processor. So now that you know what is an LCD and how microcontroller drives the LCD, now you know the display on your electronic items or gadgets, how it is being driven. So now I would encourage the embedded learners to start working on a basic 16x2 LCD. Try to display some text messages, numbers, try to display some values, and then extend that to a graphical LCD. Thank you. I'll be coming soon with one more video on the practical demonstration on how a microcontroller drives the LCD, where I'll be considering Cortex-M ARM7 based, because the video series I'm working on ARM based Cortex-M microcontroller. So till then, see you soon. Bye-bye.